2008. Before that, or sorry, 2009. Before that, she was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from 2007 to 2009. Senator Gillibrand is originally from Albany, New York, and her maternal grandmother was the founder of the Albany Democratic Women's Club. She graduated, I love that, right? She graduated from Dartmouth and received her law degree from UCLA Law School and passed the bar exam in 1981. She's married and has 2 sons, the youngest of whom is 11, and rumor has it
he's here. He's shopping downstairs.
Yeah. So you'll get to meet him in a minute, and his name is Henry.
Henry, yeah.
So in her law career, Senator Gillibrand has said that her work at private law firms allowed her to take on pro bono cases, defending things like abused women, children, and tenants, people who were seeking safe housing after lead paint and unsafe conditions were found in their homes. After taking office for the first time in the House, Gillibrand became the first member of Congress to publish her official schedule, listing everyone she met with on a given day. She also published earmark requests and received and her personal financial statement. The Sunlight Report, as her office termed it, was praised as being a quiet touch of a revolution in a non-transparent system. As a member of the Democratic Party's relatively conservative Blue Dog faction while in the House, Gillibrand has moved her political positions and ideology towards a more liberal, progressive position since she's been in the Senate. She's gone against the party on a number of occasions on issues related to women's rights, declaring zero tolerance during, declaring a zero tolerance doctrine regarding accusations of sexual misconduct by members of Congress. She's run for office in some very conservative districts, and she's won each of these races by a substantial margin. Everyone loves a winner, especially in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Kristen Gillibrand.
Thanks, Mike, for organizing this, for pulling this all together. Thanks to our elected leaders who are here and who are serving us every day. I'm very grateful for your public service, and thank you all for being here on Memorial Day weekend. That's a lot to ask of any Democrat, so I just want to thank you for being the hardy type. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and then why I'm running for president and then why I'm going to win. As Mike said, I got my start in politics a long time ago in upstate New York, largely because I had a grandmother who loved politics. Now, my grandmother, she came from very modest means, born in the south end of Albany, never went to college, and worked every day of her life. She was a secretary in the state legislature. So you have to remember, 75 years ago, women had very little say in politics, and all the electeds were men. And so if she wanted to have a say, she realized she'd have to organize not just her own views, but the voices of many women, and so she founded the Women's Democratic Club. She organized all the women in the legislature, and then all the women friends she had in Albany, and over time, these women got really invested in campaigns, doing the door-to-door, doing the envelope stuffing, doing the phone banking, and they eventually became powerful. In fact, by the time I was Henry's age, you couldn't get elected in Albany without the blessing of my grandmother and her lady friends. Because these women did all the work. They did everything that it took to elect candidates that shared their values. So I got to grow up in a community where every fall they'd work on a campaign. We'd have the campaign t-shirt, the candidate's face on it, we'd have bumper stickers. But my first political memory was going into a campaign headquarters at Henry's age and having a room full of ladies stuffing envelopes. And for whatever reason this stuck in my mind, I just remember being mesmerized by these women, and they were just stuffing envelopes and stuffing envelopes. And I'm watching them and looking at their arms and saying, their arms, they have such jiggly arms. Why are their arms so jiggly? And I'm thinking in my head, I really want to be just like them someday. So sure enough, jiggly arms, they'll get there someday. So I just loved it. I love the women, I love the people, I love the values, I love the goals. And it stuck with me in my heart that I always wanted to do public service. I didn't know how, and I didn't know when. I wound up going off to college, off to law school, and find myself in New York City as a lawyer in a big law firm. And what struck me at that moment was 1995 when Hillary Clinton went to China. And I remember watching this woman, our first lady, stand on a stage in Beijing and say, women's rights are human rights, and human rights are women's rights, once and for all. And I really wish part of that conversation. I also was a little annoyed that I wasn't invited. I didn't know why I wasn't invited, but I figured out I wasn't invited because I wasn't involved in politics as an adult. Now, I wanted to be there because I was actually an Asian Studies major at Dartmouth. I learned how to speak Mandarin from dorms in Beijing, so I really wanted to be there. And I knew how powerful it was for a First Lady to give that speech at that time to that audience. And so that's what got me off the sidelines. I started getting involved. I started getting involved in local campaigns, all through New York City, local state senate races, gubernatorial campaigns, senate campaigns, presidential campaigns. And the more I got involved, the more I really wanted to serve. The more I really wanted to live my life away from the law and into public service. 10 years later, I finally had the courage to think about running. It took a long time. It's something that a lot of young women go through, this doubt that am I smart enough, tough enough, capable enough, and eventually you say yes, at least for some of us. And I called a friend who was a pollster because I didn't want to get in without having some certainty that I could possibly win. And it was actually Jonathan. When he does come up, I'm going to credit him with this because Jonathan's the one who said, let's do a poll, honey. We'll spend our own money. Let's just see if we have a shot. So I called my friend who's a pollster and I said, Jeffrey, I really want to run New York 20 for Congress. Can you look it up, tell me what you think, and tell me if you can win. Tell me if I can win. And he looked it up and he said no. I said, really, Jeffrey? That seems a little harsh. I've been raising money for other candidates. I can raise $2 million. I can get my message out. He said, it doesn't matter. It's 2-1 Republican. There's not enough Democrats. Vote for you. I said, well, I can run the perfect campaign. You can't tell me that if I have money and run the perfect campaign, I can't win. And he just said, well, Kirsten, there's more cows than Democrats in your district, so no, you actually can't win. And being a lawyer and being competitive, I said, well, what happens if this guy gets indicted? You can't tell me I can't win then, right? And he said, well, it depends what he gets indicted for. And little did I know that that statement is pretty true. We have literally in New York indicted Congress members that are still members of Congress, like no joke. So it was red, and he didn't think I could win. But one person believed in me, it was my mother, and that tells you a lot about my mother. So my grandmother did not leave my mother out when raising her right. My mother was a tough woman. She was a woman who went to law school ahead of her time. There was only 3 women in her class. She was a woman by the time she was my age, was a second-degree black belt in karate. She'd come home on Tuesday nights with bruises all down her arms, and I'd look at her and say, Mom, I don't understand. Why don't you just play tennis like the rest of the mommies? But that was her thing. She was a mom who was a great, beautiful seamstress. She made us all our dresses when we were little. She was a great cook. She made the best pies you can imagine. Of course, she's a mom who liked to cook the Thanksgiving turkey, but unlike other moms, she also shot the Thanksgiving turkey. So I really had a very different experience in growing up with these 2 female role models. They were tough, they were confident, they believed in themselves, and they believed in the importance of women's voices. And so I, too, have always believed that. And so when I decided to run for Congress, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid at all. I can't tell you how many people, seasoned politicians, would come up to me and say, Kirsten, this is such a tough first race. We really think you should run for something else, because this is not, we don't want this for you. Because the opponent I had really was a bully. He was very tough, very mean. He never took me seriously. He dismissed and demeaned me from the very beginning. He'd look at me and say, she's just another pretty face. And I would say, thank you. And then I'd talk about why we need to get our troops out of Iraq, and why we needed health care as a right and not a privilege, and why Medicare for all, even back then in 2005, was the best solution. Because I made the case that if you let people buy in at a price they can afford, at maybe 4 or 5% of income, they actually can create competition with the insurance companies to drive down costs. And they'll get better coverage for less money, and it'll work. And people say, yeah, that makes sense. Even in a 2-1 Republican district. I won that race, and I won it by 6 points. I ran for re-election. The Republican Party at the time said, it was a fluke, we just need a better candidate. So they put up a self-funder. The self-funder spends almost $7 million in negative ads, mean ads, nasty ads, pictures of my face in red with flames coming out of my head, and a very dark voice saying, she's not who you think she is. It was so bad. Theo, my 15-year-old, was only 3 at the time. So we had to turn off the TV for 3 months because we didn't want him to see those ads. That was not a good visual of his mommy. So we turned on the TV, but we learned something because in that election cycle, I was pregnant during most of it with Henry. And so we learned that you actually can't win a congressional campaign with negative ads against a woman with an infant and a toddler, because no one believes you. And so I beat him by 24 points.
Wow.
So I could win the red and purple areas. And when I became senator the next year, I was appointed because Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State. And our governor was looking for a candidate who would win upstate, the red and purple places, but also represent the whole state. Having been a lawyer for 15 years, I understood what was happening with the financial collapse. I could bring the state together. And that's exactly what I did. I ran 3 elections, 10, 12, and 18. My highest vote threshold was 72%. That's higher than President Obama, higher than Hillary Clinton, higher than any person who's ever run for Senate or governor in the history of New York State ever. In the last election in 2018, I won back 18 Trump counties without spending a dime on television. I won back those 18 Trump counties by doing 18 town halls, by doing going to every one of our counties in the state, every one of the 62 counties. And so I can win just by talking to people, listening to their concerns, absorbing their concerns, worries, fears, and challenges, and finding bipartisan solutions to make their lives better. And I pass a lot of legislation. I don't succeed just electorally, I succeed legislatively. So the last Congress, in the Republican House, Senate, and President, I passed 18 bills. Common sense bills, the kind of bills that would help a place like Iowa. Money for rural broadband, money for made in America manufacturing, money for small businesses, particularly baby boomers who want to retire but their kids don't want it, so they can sell those businesses to their employees, so we can have more employee ownership, more growth, begin to deal with income inequality. So I bring people together, and I do it on a big stage and a small stage. I passed the first gay rights legislation, certainly in the last decade, with the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And I can tell you, it wasn't easy. I had to start with Democrats. I can't tell you how many Democrats said to me at the time, and looked me in the eye and said, you know, Kirsten, it's not convenient. Why are you doing this now? I'm a freshman senator. And I looked them in the eye and said, when are civil rights ever convenient? You do it because it's the right thing to do. Together we got the 7 Republicans, and we repealed it. The 9/11 health bill was even harder. People didn't want to send money to New York. They thought it was all about New York. It wasn't. Every first responder, it came from every state in the country, every congressional district in the country. And so we had to bring the entire Congress together to pass that bill. But it was more than that. We brought the first responders to every office, and we made sure that we could talk about it in the airwaves. The fact that we had Jon Stewart spend 2 episodes on it, CNN, MSNBC all covering it. Well, we didn't have Fox News. So I went into the Lions Den, went straight to Roger Ailes, sat down with Roger Ailes and said, listen, you say you're the party of first responders. Show it. Show it by standing with them when they need our support. They need basic health care because they're dying of cancers because of all the toxins they breathed in when the towers fell, because the EPA under George Bush told them the air was safe. I got Roger Ailes. And we learned another truism in politics. When you have Jon Stewart on one side and Fox News on the other, you're going to win. And so when we passed that bill, we ultimately passed it unanimously. So I get things done, and I can bring people together. Now to the presidential. I think what President Trump has done in this country is absolutely destructive. He's created a divide and a division on every racial, religious, socioeconomic line you can imagine. He's created fear. He's created anxiety. He's someone who demonizes the vulnerable. He's someone who demeans the weak. He's someone who actually punches down. And he does it because he wants you to believe he's strong when he's not. He's weak. Our president is actually a coward. And I believe this country deserves a president who's brave, a president who will do the right things for the right reasons, a president who will go through fire to do what's right. And that is who I am. In my short career, I've taken on the Pentagon twice. First over Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and now over sexual violence in the military. I've taken on the banks as a member of Congress from New York. I voted against the bank bailout twice, even though both parties were throwing billions at them. financial disclosure, and my taxes online, the first person ever to do all of that in Congress, first presidential candidate to post 12 years, all years of public service online of my taxes. And I passed a bill making insider trading illegal by members of Congress. I can't believe it wasn't the law already, but it wasn't. But I also know this, if we want to do any of the things we've talked about, healthcare is a right, not a privilege, the Green New Deal, more affordable college, debt-free college, better public schools, literally anything that we want to accomplish, if you don't take on greening corruption in Washington, you're never going to get there. And that's why the first policy idea for my campaign was publicly funded elections. I believe that we need to get money out of politics.